Unlock the darkest stories and unravel the mysteries with Dark Crime Box. Subscribe now and step inside the world of true crime like never before.
The girls are still in the truck.
Okay.
Did they ask you what you were doing, taking mommy out, or?
Yeah, I don't remember what I told them, but they did ask that.
What they say specifically?
It was more like, what are you doing to mommy?
Okay. Alright. And then the girls, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You mentioned Bella was first? Cece was first, okay. Where exactly was she when it happened?
In the back seat.
Okay. Was she just right next to Bella?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so once again, was it a hand over her face? Was it?
It was a blanket over and my hand.
And then your hand. Okay. And then so that just stopped her from breathing type thing? Okay. Did she struggle at all?
I don't think so, but I was blocking her face and my hand was right here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You had one hand here and one hand over her mouth?
And were you just pushing her against the back of the seat type thing? Okay. What was Bella doing?
She was sitting there next to it. She didn't know what was going on.
Okay. Could she see you? Okay. Tell me about what you were thinking.
I wasn't. If I was thinking, it's what would have happened.
Yeah.
Or any partial hint of what I feel for those girls and what I feel for my wife, but none of this would have happened, so I wasn't thinking.
Okay. So she's in the back seat. Okay. And then once she's gone, then is it Bella next, or did you pull Cece out?
I pulled Cece out.
Okay, so once Cece's gone, Bella's still there in the car alive, and then you pulled Cece out. What'd you do with her? Okay. So she went into the tank, and Bella was still in the back of the truck alive. Okay. With regard to that tank, did you bring up Cece, put her down, open the hatch?
Brought her up, opened the hatch.
And then put her in. Okay. And then went down to Bella. Tell me what happened there.
She said, what happened to Cece? First she asked if it was the same thing, the exact same thing that happened to me as Cece.
Did she ask you that? Okay. So Bella's pretty smart. How did she sound when she asked you that, Chris?
She had that soft voice she always had.
Yeah. And what exactly did she say?
She said exactly the same thing that happened to me as Cece. And then I said, I don't even remember what I said.
Okay.
I don't know what I said, if I just said yes, like a horrible person, or if I just put that blanket over her too and did the same thing.
Same blanket, same way?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
She said, no, Daddy.
The quiet streets of Frederick, Colorado, were bathed in the soft, golden light of early morning. Lawns were neatly trimmed, driveways empty, mailboxes aligned like soldiers standing at attention. From the outside, it was the image of suburban tranquility, of ordinary life, of families raising children in safety and routine. But inside one modest, red brick home, the air was heavy with secrets that no facade could hide. Behind the smiles posted online, behind the carefully curated photographs and videos of birthday parties and family vacations, there was tension, the kind that grows slowly, unnoticed, until it becomes impossible to ignore. This was the Watts household, home to Chris Watts, his wife Sean and their two young daughters, Bella and Celeste. The family seemed ordinary, perhaps enviable. Chris, quiet and reserved, a man who preferred routine over chaos, and Sean and vibrant, social, confident, the kind of woman whose energy filled a room. To anyone watching from the outside, they were perfect, the quintessential American family, living the dream in a cozy suburban enclave. But perfection, in this case, was an illusion. Before the tragedy, before the headlines and the horror, the lives of these people were defined by contrasts. Sean had ambitions beyond motherhood, dreams of building a family business and helping others through her work in wellness coaching. She shared her passions online with a warm smile, chronicling her life with the kind of intimacy that made strangers feel like friends. Chris, in turn, carried himself with quiet dignity, an engineer with a penchant for order, who had little tolerance for confrontation and even less desire for emotional turbulence. Their marriage, however, was already strained. What outsiders saw as laughter and joy was often a careful masking of frustrations and disagreements, small fissures that hinted at deeper cracks. If you're drawn to dark, true crime stories like this one, now is a perfect time to subscribe to Dark Crime Box and turn on notifications, so you never miss a story that uncovers the chilling truths lurking behind the most ordinary faces. Early in their relationship, Chris and Sean had been close, united by mutual admiration and the hope of creating a family together. But as the years passed, subtle patterns emerged: disagreements over money, disputes about parenting, clashes of personality. Sean was assertive, determined, occasionally fiery, a woman unafraid to speak her mind. Chris, on the other hand, grew increasingly withdrawn, struggling with conflicts he never felt equipped to resolve. Over time, this dynamic created tension not just between the couple, but within the larger family network. Chris's mother, Cindy, often expressed disapproval of Sean and quietly critical of her daughter-in-law's temperament, her decisions, and, perhaps most significantly, the intensity of her presence in the lives of her children. Cindy's criticisms, often framed as concern, planted seeds of resentment, small judgments that would grow silently into more profound divisions. Life continued in its outwardly normal rhythm. Sean pursued her work, traveling for coaching sessions, planning community events, posting joyful videos of her daughters playing in the yard, blowing out birthday candles, and twirling in dance recitals. Chris went to work, returned home, maintained the house, and maintained a careful neutrality in conflicts. Yet beneath the routine, fissures widened. Family dinners were polite but strained. Conversations that should have been warm and easy were instead marked by careful monitoring of words and reactions. Every laugh had an edge, every smile a shadow. Friends of Sean sometimes noted her frustration, her subtle expressions of disappointment that Chris did not meet her expectations. Chris, in turn, kept to himself, expressing irritation in quiet sighs, in shoulders stiffened against intimacy, in evenings spent in solitary tasks rather than with the family he had created. As the family expanded with the news of Shanann's third pregnancy in June 2018, the pressure intensified. The announcement should have been a moment of joy, a celebration of new life, a strengthening of bonds. But for Chris, it became another marker of the growing distance between him and Sean. The pregnancy brought with it new responsibilities, heightened expectations, and, unbeknownst to anyone at the time, an urgency that would later become a driving force behind decisions he could not have imagined he would make. For Sean, the pregnancy was a source of excitement, a hope that the family could heal and flourish. She spoke often of naming the baby Nico, of imagining a future filled with laughter and shared milestones. She recorded moments of anticipation and joy, sharing them online with a sincerity that masked the underlying tension, presenting a vision of family unity that was far from reality. From the outside, everything seemed ordinary. Neighbors waved from across the street, cars came and went from school runs and errands, lawns were mowed on weekends, and the hum of daily life continued. Friends and acquaintances had no inkling of the emotional storms brewing within the walls of the Watts home. Yet signs existed, subtle, easily dismissed by anyone not paying close attention. Chris's withdrawn demeanor, Shanann's mounting frustration, the occasional terse conversation captured on social media posts that seemed harmless, but in retrospect hinted at deeper conflict. Cindy Watt's own observations, quiet comments about Shanann's temper, her insistence that her son deserved a calmer partner, had been voiced privately, almost dismissed at the time, but they foreshadowed the tragic unraveling of events that would shock the nation. Tensions escalated over small domestic disagreements, arguments over finances and household decisions, disputes over parenting styles. What could have remained minor irritations became enduring resentments, compounded by external pressures. Chris's interactions with others, friends, colleagues, and eventually Nicole Kessinger, began to reflect a growing emotional detachment. He sought escape, a way to assert control over a life that had begun to feel suffocating, even if he could not articulate it. Meanwhile, Shanann's energy and determination, once sources of admiration and pride, were increasingly met with resistance and coldness, eroding the sense of partnership they had once shared. This slow, imperceptible unraveling set the stage for the events of August 2018, a month that would transform a quiet suburban street into a national spectacle of horror. But before the final night, the warning signs, the tensions, and the interpersonal fractures already existed. An invisible lattice of resentment and misunderstanding stretching across every conversation, every decision, every glance. The perfect family, carefully curated for public view, was fragile, its cracks hidden beneath smiles and social media posts. And in the quiet moments, when the world was not watching, the seeds of tragedy were already being sown, waiting for the moment they would erupt in a way no one could have anticipated. The tension in the Watts household had been simmering for years, invisible to outsiders but undeniable to those who watched closely. Chris, once quiet and unassuming, had begun retreating further into himself. Even as Shanann's pregnancy progressed, he appeared increasingly distant, distracted by late-night messages and secret calls. The calm exterior that neighbors and friends saw masked an inner turbulence, a mind quietly calculating a way to escape responsibilities, to assert control over a life that had begun to feel suffocating. As August approached, the family's routines continued with uneasy normalcy. Shanann filmed videos of her daughters laughing in the yard, uploaded posts celebrating her upcoming business projects, and meticulously documented her pregnancy journey. She wanted everything to appear perfect, a shining image of love and commitment. Yet, within the walls of the home, small conflicts escalated. Words spoken in passing grew sharper, glances grew colder, and moments that could have been repaired were left unattended, festering into resentment. Chris's mother, Cindy, quietly criticized Shanann and to friends and family, framing her disapproval in concern yet hinting at the truth she felt about the volatility beneath the surface. "I never liked her temper," she admitted, a statement that seemed minor at the time. On August 13, 2018, the day began like any other, with the mundane rhythms of suburban life. Shanann prepared for a business trip, loading her car with suitcases while Chris watched from a distance, emotionless, a practiced calm settling over him. His internal calculations had hardened. The quiet dissatisfaction, the frustrations, and the sense of entrapment that had grown over months now converged into a single, catastrophic decision. There would be no turning back. What happened that morning was the culmination of weeks, months, and years of tension. Chris, who had outwardly maintained the image of a devoted husband and father, executed a plan meticulously designed to erase the family he claimed to love. Shanann, full of hope for the future, and her daughters, innocent and trusting, would never see the day again. The events that followed are shocking not only for their brutality but for the deliberate coldness with which they were carried out. Chris strangled Shanann, and in the family home, the act swift, premeditated, yet horrifying in its intimacy. The children, unaware of the escalating danger, were smothered shortly thereafter, their small lives extinguished with chilling efficiency. He transported their bodies to an oil site where he worked, burying Shanann and in a shallow grave and concealing Bella and Celeste in separate tanks. Each moment was calculated, a twisted assertion of control over life and death. Outside, he continued to perform the role of the grieving husband, posting online messages, contacting friends, and even appearing on television interviews, begging for the safe return of his family. The deception was total, the illusion of normalcy maintained, while behind closed doors, horror reigned. As news of the missing family spread, law enforcement meticulously pieced together the timeline. Neighbors provided video footage, phone records revealed lies, and inconsistencies in Chris's statements raised red flags. Investigators began to see a pattern, a sinister truth emerging from the web of deceit. When brought in for questioning and a polygraph test, Chris failed to maintain his performance. His narrative began to fracture, each lie exposing the next. And then, after hours of intense interrogation, he confessed. The confession was chilling in its calmness, a stark contrast to the violence he had wrought. He described the murders in detail, attempting to rationalize them as a reaction to his wife's behavior and his own desire for freedom. Even now, the weight of what he had done was inescapable. Court proceedings followed, and the nation watched as the reality of the Watts case became undeniable. Chris pleaded guilty to avoid the death penalty, a decision that ensured life without parole. In the courtroom, silence prevailed as Shanann's family read statements that captured the magnitude of their grief. Cindy Watts, the mother who had once quietly criticized her daughter-in-law, faced her own turmoil, a mix of denial, sorrow, and the bitter recognition that her son had orchestrated the unimaginable. The sentence was delivered, and justice, in its legal form, was served, but the scars remained. The aftermath of the crime revealed the full human cost. Friends, neighbors, and the broader community struggled to comprehend the reality of what had occurred. Shanann's parents, shattered by loss, sought solace in each other and in the memories of their daughter and granddaughters. Cindy Watts gave interviews, some public, some hidden, her words attempting to reconcile love for her son with horror at his actions. She emphasized the tension she had felt for years, the discomfort she had sensed, and the warnings she had voiced that now carried a haunting resonance. Her statement, "I never liked her temper," became a focal point for discussion, a phrase that both shocked and illuminated, revealing the complex dynamics that had existed long before the tragedy. Throughout the nation, the case sparked debates about the warning signs that can precede domestic violence, the psychology of seemingly ordinary individuals capable of extraordinary cruelty, and the impact of social facades. Shanann's social media posts, once joyful records of family life, became memorials, a stark reminder of innocence lost. Chris Watts, confined behind prison walls, became an object of morbid fascination, a cautionary figure illustrating how deception, detachment, and obsession can culminate in catastrophe. Even as the years pass, the Watts case continues to resonate. It is a story of contradictions. Love and hatred, devotion and betrayal, innocence and malevolence. It challenges assumptions about domestic life, exposes the fragility of perceived perfection, and forces reflection on the human capacity for darkness hidden behind ordinary appearances. And at the center of it all, Cindy Watts' revelation lingers, a reminder that subtle disapproval, unspoken tensions, and early warnings can sometimes foretell horrors yet unseen. The story of Chris and Sean and Watts leaves more than grief in its wake. It leaves questions. How could a man, a husband, a father, conceal such violence for so long? What signs were missed, ignored, or dismissed? And in the end, what does it mean when those closest to the family, the very people who might have intervened, are left grappling with guilt, regret, and the knowledge that nothing can be undone? As you reflect on this story, consider the invisible tensions in your own life, the subtle conflicts that might escalate if left unresolved, the words we choose to speak and those we withhold. True crime is not only about the acts themselves but about understanding human behavior, the consequences of denial, and the fragility of trust. If this story has left you stunned, remember to like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to Dark Crime Box, turning on notifications so you never miss another deep dive into the darkest corners of human behavior. Leave your thoughts in the comments. What could have prevented this tragedy? And what lessons should the world learn from the Watts family?